deeply honored. Thank you very, very much for having me present to you guys again. It's always a pleasure to speak about a topic that I'm always so passionate about. Um, and I understand that usually when I speak, I always make my presenters do my presentation and they read off all my certifications. But I do so because I like to empower individuals that there's always more out there, and you should always reach for greater and higher learning, because in this field, when we're taking care of patients, the more you know, the better you can care for the patients that count on us every single day, because you never know when one day you're going to be that patient. So my passion is always to learn and push myself forward and make myself a credible individual in the field, that if answers or questions are needed, I'm that go-to individual that can help you resolve those issues. Um, when I'm asked about presenting about technology, I always have to wonder and understand, like, where are we going in the future with healthcare and medicine? We always want to do things to make our life expectancy longer, and patients want to live longer. And it's apparent that throughout the years that individuals are healthier now. They're trying to see their grandchildren's grow, and things of that nature. So technology plays a huge part in that. If you think about how surgeries were just 5 or 10 years ago, the time that you spent in a hospital was anywhere from 7 to 14 days trying to recover from a simple knee surgery, compared to today's healthcare, where you can have a knee surgery at 10 o'clock in the morning, and by 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you're already going home. That's a testament to how technology plays a big part in healthcare and the advancement of medicine. So let's go to the next page here. So how does that impact the sterile processing department? And the CSSD. So I usually refer to sterile processing because that's how it's known here in the United States. But in other countries, you have the CSSD, CSS, MDR. We go through so many different names because of all the different tasks that we have. So the way this impacts us in 2025 and going forward, surgeries are no longer open surgeries. You don't have, the incisions from mid chest all the way down to abdominal to do surgeries. That's very, very rare that individuals do this now. You have what's called MIS surgeries and robotics. Okay, MIS is minimal invasive surgeries, where you have the smallest possible wound incision, and then robotics to help us navigate some of the surgeries. Robotics has advanced so much that you can now do a surgery on a patient halfway across the world from here in the United States. It just has to have the correct hookups and the correct frequencies in their internet services and configurations. But you can have a surgeon pretty much sitting in a room looking at a screen, almost like a video game, to do surgery on a patient. And this is extremely advanced and scary when you think about it. They changed the way how we reprocess and run departments. We have faster recoveries from the patients. We have less infections because the more time, studies have shown and data shows, the longer you stay in a hospital, the longer you are in there, the higher your infection rate. Okay. And if we can get patients out of the hospital, we can schedule more cases, because minimum invasive surgeries are no longer 4 to 5 to 6 hours long. You're getting surgeries done within an hour, 2 hours. I can tell you from experience, my brother had a heart transplant 10 years ago, and his surgery was 7 hours long. Today, a heart transplant can be done as little as 2 to 3 hours, half the time. And 10 years ago, my brother was let go out of the hospital in 3 days after a heart transplant. Today, 1 to 2 days maximum after a heart transplant. That's significant. But more surgeries require more inventory. Or if you're one of those facilities that cannot, it requires more turnovers. And turnovers are when you have to reprocess a device for another surgery. And a lot of facilities struggle with that inventory. Technology is supposed to yield greater patient outcomes, but we as CSSD departments and sterile processing departments have to be ready for these technologies. So I decided when I was going to do this presentation, that I was going to do it like a live in service, because a lot of times we see the technology, we see the pictures, we see the YouTube videos, the vendors present these technologies to us, but we as sterile processing departments and CSSD departments don't ever see how it actually gets cleaned or what it takes to process these devices. So in this presentation, we're going to take a look at what it takes to process one single robotic camera and the impact it can have on our department. So I hope you guys are ready for this journey. It's going to be a video, and I'm going to walk you through this video. What you're seeing on the screen right now is the IFU, or the instructions, kind of the cheat sheet that we as technicians use to be able to process a single SP Da Vinci camera. And Da Vinci is the leading manufacturer for robotic surgeries now, made by the company called Intuitive. Now, there are other robotic companies out there, but this one's the one that, everyone turns to, or was pretty much the forefront of robotics here in the United States. The SP camera is the third generation of robotics. They came out with the Da Vinci S, the Da Vinci S XI. We now have the SP, and soon coming the Da Vinci 5. This is a SP camera, it's the endoscopic camera that they'll use. And it's SP stands for single port. That means they have to do one single incision in the patient, and then the robotic has like 8 arms that goes into that one incision port to be able to do the surgery. Less incisions means faster recoveries. This is the actual endoscopic camera that we're going to process. And as you can see, there's 15 steps when we're doing the manual preparation. Now, these 15 steps can be shortened if we have automation, more technology. And I'll show you how step 10, 11, 12 can all be condensed into one process, but it does take time to do so. So let me take you on this journey here. All right. So as this video plays, again, we're looking at the IFU for the SP. On the right-hand side here, you see the XP reprocessing endoscope that we won't get into. Now, we're going to be processing this scope in what we utilize as a, sorry about that. I'm sorry. We're gonna process this scope in a 3-bay sink. That is a one sink that has 3 sections in there. And the first sink we utilize as a rinsing sink, as a rinsing bay. Technically speaking, for us in the United States here, we have to comply to not only standards, but we have to comply to regulatory regulations, which is the law. And here in the United States, and in many countries, pre-treatment is a major step in the cleaning process. So pre-treatment happens at points of use where gross soils are removed off the device. And typically another solution is sprayed onto the device to keep the soils moist and prevent them from drying, because dry soils are extremely difficult to remove. The problem is that we can't mix those chemicals. Whatever they apply at points of use, we can't mix it with the chemicals that we utilize in the department, in the reprocessing department. So we utilize the first bay to rinse, and typically in the IFUs, you'll see the pre-treatment or the pre-cleaning steps prior to the actual instructions for use that I just showed you. Now, our second bay, we fill up with 10 gallons of water, and we use automated dosers to dose our chemicals into the detergent, into the water. And our detergents function between 90 and 120 degrees to be able to activate the enzymatic components of that detergent. Now, I don't know if you can see in the far end here, me dosing out my chemicals here. And now I'm going to transfer my device into the soaking bay. Now, the IFUs of this device requires that this single camera stays soaking in detergent for 30 minutes. 30 minutes of soak time. The way I kind of explain this to individuals is I'm Hispanic by nature, and one of our food staples is rice. We love to eat rice, but we do this thing with rice, and for every time we cook rice, we purposely burn the bottom layer of the rice because in Spanish we call it pegao. This is the hard burnt rice. And for many Hispanics, that is a delectable dish at the end. We take this burnt rice and we form little balls on it and we eat it with soups or different dishes. The problem with that is that that burnt rice on the bottom of the pot is extremely hard to get off and clean off. So we have to soak our pots overnight. That's the same principle with this device here. This device has 2 lumens in it. And in those lumens, we cannot add pre-treatment into those lumens because it may be difficult to rinse out or remove. And with that being said, the soils in there will dry and make it very difficult to remove. So what you seen me do just now was called priming the channels. And that's filling my channels with detergent to allow the detergent to work its magic inside of the lumen. Our task as technicians is not just to clean the outside of the device, but also the inside of the device. Now, I am not going to torture you guys and have you watch the full 30-minute soak time here, but this is just to show you that this one device only one device can be soaked at a time in our soaking bins. So you have to have, if you have 2 or 3 of these devices, you have to have multiple sinks available to soak for 30 minutes. You can't put any other common devices in there like scissors or any of the other robotic arms because they may require different soak times. And let's be honest, if you're not the individual that's going to finish cleaning this device, how do you communicate to the next person to identify what was soaking for 10 minutes prior to what was soaking for 30 minutes? Now, you might be able to put 2 cameras in here, but I'm going to show you how difficult it is when cleaning this device. That long cord is hard to manipulate under there. So it'll tangle up very easily if you're not careful on how you handle it. So having 2 devices in there increases your chances of damaging this device. And we'll talk about cost later on because everything costs money. And these robotics are not short on the cost range. So everyone who gets robotics and wants to get robotic instrumentation also have to fit that into the budget of the department. Now, again, this is soaking in detergent. That is, we use neutral detergents that have enzymatic properties to it. And the 3 enzymes that we have in that detergent is protease for protein, lipase for fats, and amylase for the starches and sugars. That's assisting the detergent to break down that soil with minimal efforts of scrubbing or brushing. Over 100 degrees of water and put a lot of elbow grease into the device to clean it off, because doing so will also cause your device to damage if you're sitting there and putting too much pressure on the distal tip, too much pressure on the glass components, or even pulling on the cord too much. Now, when we're soaking, We do set timers in there so that we know that minutes is going to be allocated. And again, I'm going to skip forward through this device, and we'll have our cleaning tools available, which are cleaning brushes to clean some of the intricate devices in there, the curves and the buttons. And then we're going to use disposable brushes to clean the hoses, the cords, the shaft of the instrument, and of course the glass that's in the front on the distal tip of that device. Now, as this soaking, as technicians, we would multitask and do other tasks that's required because, again, this isn't going to be the only instrument that enters into your sterile processing department. You're going to have other tasks to do. You have washers to run. You have ultrasonics to look after. You have other devices that have to be processed. So that's what I'm doing in the background is actually processing another device, answering questions to some of my technicians because as the educator of the department, my technicians can have questions. So this is being left here to do its thing. Now, assuming 30 minutes has passed, the next step in the process is to wipe down because the detergent has did its job to remove or break down some of those soils and make it easier to wipe off. Now, you want to do as much of this as possible under the surface of the water to prevent any aerosolizations. Okay, you don't want to breathe in all those microorganisms. You don't want to sit there and splash any water in your face. So you want to do this as much as possible under the surface of the water. And as you can see how the cord, even though it was neatly coiled under there, can coil up on itself. And as you're wiping, you want to transfer this over to the next process in the cleaning process. And that would be to rinse, according to the IFU, is to rinse, flush, and brush the device. Again, doing this process is removing some of the loose soils, and then you're observing it and inspecting it as you transfer it over. Now, bear with me as I move my camera over so that I can show you the next step in the process. Okay, so this sink here was filled up with 10 gallons of utility water. According to our standards, utility water is water that comes straight from the municipality. It is water that can be, that is used to clean and has been treated at a water municipality plant. It is technically, if you really look, it's potable water. It's water that you can drink, and it's free of some minerals and hardness and things of that nature. This part of the IFU and the instructions for cleaning this device states that you want to submerge it in clean water, and you're going to flush the ports with pressurized water. Time, and it's important that you have pressurized water to flush out those soils and detergent. The next part of this IFU tells me to use pressurized water for the distal tip of the device because the distal tip has some flexible components and joints and has like a honeycomb pattern that can have trapped soils and very difficult to get a cleaning tool in there to really scrub that off and get any of those soils. So we're going to utilize a pressurized water pistol, and each section, there's 2 sections of this joint here that needs pressurized water for 30 seconds each, 30 seconds for each section. Once we pressurized, we now are going to brush these surfaces and wipe off with a sponge. And this portion of the IFU is to remove the detergent off the surface of the device. When you're utilizing detergents, it is important to understand the properties of the detergent and how difficult or simple it is to rinse off the surface of the device. Some detergents are easier to rinse, as others are a little bit more difficult. We utilize a neutral detergent with enzymatics that can be a little difficult to remove off the surfaces of devices if you do not properly rinse it. So here I'm brushing the control module as well as the body, and then utilizing a sponge to get the larger surfaces of the device. Okay, that includes the insertion shaft, the control box, and then the actual electrical hose, electrical cord and components to it. Again, you want to do all this as much as you can under the surface of the water to avoid aerosolization or incidental splashes of the device. Now, as you can see, you want to control that insertion tube to prevent that glass from hitting the side of the sink, because again, that can be easily damaged. Now, the cord can get tangled. You want to make sure that you're placing that and grabbing it correctly and not putting too much force in order to damage the cord. You're also doing your visual inspection as you're cleaning the device to see if you feel any residue or see any residue left on the device. Being that this cord is so long, it can be cumbersome. This is why we do one device at a time to avoid any entanglement of the cords and any possible damage and unnecessary banging of the device. So using our sponge, we're going to transfer over to our soft bristle brush, get the electrical components in that end there, and get around any kind of junctions and connections, because again, we're not going to get that very good with a sponge here. Okay. So after this portion of the IFU, I will empty my sink, because this is utility water that I'm actually doing the initial rinse with. The final rinse, or the rinse prior to the ultrasonic cleaner, requires what we call critical water. Critical water is water that is free of minerals and microorganisms, because we do not want to reprocess, we do not want to redeposit any minerals or microorganisms back onto the device prior to going to the next step, even though the next step of the process is going to be an automated cleaning process. The detergents that we use in one portion of the cleaning, and this is the manual preparation part of the manual cleaning portion of this device, are typically not compatible with the detergents of the automated cleaning process, because those detergents are less are non-foaming and are typically easier to rinse off than those of the manual cleaning process. Now you want to coil your cord up in a fashion that when we're going to place it into the ultrasonic is neatly placed in there. And what you're seeing me use is our overhead sprayer that is supplied with critical water that we generate here at the facility. And critical water can be one of three types of water. It can be reverse osmosis, it can be deionized, or to the highest degree or standard, distilled water. We utilize the deionized water because distilled water is very hard to generate and to supply. So deionized water is what we do. And we rinse all of our devices with this prior to going to each step of the process. So if our process has a manual cleaning, we use distilled water, deionized water as our final rinse prior to automated processes. And the final rinse in the automated process is also with deionized water. You want to rinse this device for at least a minute. And again, this is to remove any minerals from the utility water and any microorganisms that were in that utility water off the surface of the device. Now this device is ready for the next step in the IFU, which is ultrasonic cleaning. Now, I have to put a word on ultrasonic cleaning because there are different types of ultrasonics. There's actually 6 different types of ultrasonics. The one that you see pictured here is actually an ultrasonic irrigator cleaner disinfector. Okay, so it's going to give you ultrasonic capability. It's going to clean your device. It's going to use hoses to flush and irrigate the lumens of your device. And it's going to give you a thermal disinfection step here. The IFU just calls for ultrasonic cleaning. But as I showed you earlier, there are 3 steps after ultrasonic cleaning that if you utilize a basic ultrasonic cleaner, you're going to have to re-rinse your device. You're going to have to reflush your ports. And you're going to have to use thermal disinfection after the leak testing of this device. This ultrasonic cleaner, irrigator, disinfector is going to eliminate all those steps where it's going to flush the internal lumens with detergent. It's going to rinse the internal lumens with the ionized water. It's going to use overhead sprays to rinse the surface. And again, this ultrasonic cleaner and the IFU of this device is one device at a time. Okay, so you're going to have, if you have 3 or 4 of these devices, you're going to have to dedicate an employee to just clean robotic instrumentation because of the time. And again, I'm not even, this video here is going to be a little bit over 20 something minutes. This is just showing you the tip. It's not showing you what I did to prepare the device before. It's not including the 30 minutes of soak time, and it's not including the time it takes to ultrasonic. Ultrasonicking alone, it requires 15 minutes of active ultrasonicking. Because this does irrigation and rinsing and thermal disinfection, this actual process takes about 45 minutes. 45 minutes, 30 minutes of soaking for the manual cleaning. That's over an hour of dealing with one device. This is a huge impact to the sterile processing departments when they take on robotics. It is a huge responsibility. These items are extremely complex, very difficult to clean, very difficult to remove the trapped soils, and extremely sensitive. And I'm going to show you, after I do all of this cleaning, all of this testing, all of this inspection, that there's another downfall to robotics that a lot of individuals do not consider when they think about, oh, let's go into technology. We're going to be there for the patient and other such things. I can tell you that I've consulted a lot of my colleagues when they considered getting robotics, the additional equipment and the additional manpower that's required to just process these devices. Now, as you can see, this gives you a rundown of each step that can be documented and downloaded so that you're sure that you're going over the actual steps in there. This is actually an overhead rinsing and spraying of the device with 118 degrees Fahrenheit of water to remove, again, the impurities and any micro. Ultrasonic cleaning is designed to do finite cleaning. This is for those little fine little crevices that brushes can't get into or that you weren't able to remove with the simple flushes. Because again, we can't see inside those lumens. We don't know what's going on in there. You know, we did our just part with the manual cleaning and we did our pressurized flushing, you know, and we assume that what's going on in there is going to be clean. This is why we ultrasonic clean and irrigate, to, again, put an extra step in the cleaning process to ensure a better clean, because you want to make sure that whatever's in those lumens, you get out of those lumens. Now, the process is complete. And again, I shortened this process for you, for everyone to see. This is what the device will look like coming out. It is still wet. It has actually been thermal disinfected. So I'm going to take off my utility gloves that I used for cleaning, and I'm just going to have on medical exam gloves that cover the cuffs of my ground, because again, I don't want to touch this device with soiled hands, because again, I would be defeating the purpose. Okay, so regardless of those utility gloves going under running water and we're using detergents, okay, those gloves are actually soiled. You want to remove that and have a fresh pair of gloves. This part of the IFU requires leak testing. Okay, leak testing is done at this point to see the aggressive cleaning techniques that we utilize, that pressurized water can possibly damage the internal lumens. Those internal lumens are coated with a rubber, a Teflon coating that can be damaged if we utilize too high of a pressure of water. The ultrasonic cleaner is actually an aggressive cleaner. Okay, it's not really suitable for plastic, rubbers, glass, wood, cork, and this component has all that: plastic, rubber, the glass distal tip. Okay, so the leak testing is designed to see, okay, it's validated to be cleaned with an ultrasonic cleaner, but let's just check this device to make sure that it's going to hold up integrity. Okay, did the ultrasonic damage it? Did the cleaning process was a little too aggressive? Did we pull on that cord? So this part of the process here is to ensure that there are no leaks in this device. And the way this test goes is you want to turn on your leak tester with 150 to 180 millimeters of mercury of air pressure. We're going to fill up a sink with 10 gallons of water, and we're going to submerge just the distal tip of the device, because this is the part of the device that has the most accessibility of wires, joints, that little honeycomb in there. And this is the part that's going to enter the patient. So this is extremely important that there's no air brakes in there, because if there is a leak in there, that means that not only fluids can enter, but those very fluids hold and carry microorganisms. So if there's microorganisms in there, they're of course going to proliferate. They're gonna breed in there, and they can be expelled into a patient. So here I just turned on my unit. You can see that the pressure is being held between 150 plus or minus 3 or 4 millimeters of mercury of air. And we're going to observe the distal tip for 30 seconds. Okay. We're looking for slow streams of bubbles or fast streams of bubbles. That's going to show me that either this device is safe, there's no leaks, or there's a major leak and we need to put this device out for service. Okay. Everything is still connected. 30 seconds later, you don't see any bubbles emerging out of the water. So this device has been cleaned properly and the integrity is safe. So we can go ahead and go to the next step of the process here. We're going to go ahead and turn off our leak tester here, turn it off, make sure it drops down to 0. We're going to disconnect it from the device. And then
Hello,
the next step.
Mr. Jesse.
Yes,
Sorry
sir.
to interrupt you. Yeah, most participants are not seeing your screen. Can you make it a full screen? Most people are not they're not comprehending well with that screen. Can you kindly share the full screen? Sorry to interrupt.
Let me see. Let me see.
You can just close the side shows slide to make it a full screen. So that we,
Sorry about that. Hold on 1 second
oh
here.
yeah, yeah, there now.
Yeah, is that better?
Yes, yes, thank you.
Okay, no problem. All right, so we have, let me see. All right, so we're finished leak testing here. We're looking at the device here. We're taking it out. Okay. And the next step of the process here in the device is to now put it back into its instrument holding rack. This is the device. This is the medical device that holds the instrument so that it can go to the next step of the process. This is all still in the decontamination area and the reprocessing. This has not gone over to the prep and pack area or the assembly area where technicians will inspect it for cleanliness and damage. This is still in the cleaning area. We're now drying the device using pressurized air at a specific PSI rating to avoid any damages. We're drying out the lumens, the outside surface of the device, and then we're going to put it back into its instrument holding rack. Okay, so we want to go ahead and neatly put that back in to again avoid any damages. So I will show you that process as well. Again, utilizing clean hands. The rack is cleaned separately from the device because this too is a medical device. It is validated to hold this device so that it can properly be sterilized, because this device does require sterilization. It requires steam sterilization. Okay, so this device is properly going to hold the device in place. Okay, we're going to neatly coil the cords in there so that all surfaces can be exposed to sterilization. We just can't throw the cord in there any which way. And again, as you can see, this takes time as well. Okay, to neatly do this, you don't want to have the cord all coiled up, okay, overlapping itself. Okay, and then we're going to have a special placement for the actual connector. There's a little basket inside of the middle of this holding tray here. Okay, and this is a tray that's provided by the manufacturer. We're going to go ahead and give it a little loose coil of the actual cord here. And we're going to place that connector block right in the middle here. Now this device is ready to go to the next step of the process, which would be passed over to the prep and pack area. And then it can go under, it can undergo its inspection. Now, all of that to say that this device is being cleaned, is being utilized, is being inspected, it's going to be sterilized. But as you can see, this device also has a limitation of use. Depending on the version of the device, this device here in the United States costs 35,000 US dollars. And we can only use it if you have the lowest available version, can only be used 12 times or reprocessed 14 times. What does that reprocessing cycle mean? Well, there are many times where an individual is going to be scheduled for surgery. And as technicians, we pick the cases and we have the device ready to be used on that patient. It's been sterilized and it's ready. The patient gets into the room, and upon speaking to the patient or something goes wrong in the case, and we have to cancel that case, we do not utilize the product, but the product is now considered contaminated because we opened it. So it has to go back to the department to undergo the process all over again. That counts as a reprocessing cycle. So you have just wasted a life of that device. Usages is usage. I used it 12 times on a patient. It is expired now. We utilize the higher version of the camera here, which gives us 33 usages with 40 reprocessing cycles. And that may seem like a lot, but here in my facility, we do anywhere from 7 to 10 robotic surgeries per day. And we only have about 3 of these cameras. So think about that usage. If you divide the 3 cameras into the 10 surgeries, you get 3 usages a day. You only got 11 days of usage. And this is, we do robotics at least 3 times a week. So that might get extended. And there are many times when it's expired. So we only get 40 reprocessing cycles, 33 usages for something so technical, so advanced, but it only has a limitation. That is an extreme cost to the facility. So technology is the future. We can't avoid that. Okay, we see it with our phones, we see it with our homes, we see it with our vehicles, and we see it in medicine every single day. Okay, we as technicians must be ready for technology, but there's pros and cons to it. The pros is that, yes, it decreases the physical labor. Okay, we don't have to do as much flushing and brushing because our automation is there, but it does require that preparation that I showed you. Automatic processes that complement the manual process is definitely a plus, because if you don't have that, then 1, you're not compliant with the IFU, and 2, it really does take that much time. Less equipment needed, okay? And being that with the equipment that you have, you don't have to do so many instrumentations for the patient. This equipment and this devices that's required, what used to have to have 20 to 30 instruments to do a surgery, you can now do it with 4 to 5 instruments. It does have a pro that it has higher demands for skilled technicians. That's a pro. When you have that ability under your belt, you become a much more valuable technician for different facilities, especially if you know how to process robotics. And better overall application of cleaning techniques, because if you're getting all these extra cleaning devices or ultrasonics, you can now apply those same cleaning principles to basic instrumentation to get better cleaning results. The cons, you just lived it with me when seeing this video. It is extremely a time-consuming process. It has higher costs, which equals less inventory. at $35,000 an arm, you're not going to see 20 or 30 of them in a facility. You're going to see 2, maybe 3. And if you're really, really blessed, 4 or 5. Okay, that less inventory means that there's going to be higher turnover times. Okay, I'm going to start off with 1, but the surgeon wants to do 3 surgeries. That means that every time he's done 1 surgery, you got to send that item to the reprocessing and reprocess it a second time. Higher turnover times means that you may be skipping processes. Okay, because the demand of wanting that device back quickly, you may decide to, hey, you know something, I did a really good job cleaning this manually. I'm going to skip the ultrasonic step, which I urge everyone not to do. This may weed out generational technicians. Older technicians that are not technologically savvy may decide to say, you know something, this is too much for me. I can't understand this product. I can't operate the equipment. And you start seeing a swing in the generational gaps. And because of the complexity of IFU and additional equipment that's required, it may be too much for certain facilities. Like how do we process these devices and we don't have the cleaning equipment? We don't have an ultrasonic. We don't have irrigators. We don't have the water that's required for processing. So again, this is one of the things that's extremely important. So although technology is great, technology is what we're looking for. We want to advance. Are you really ready to process robotics and technologically advanced devices? That is the end of my presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And I hope I can answer them.
Good evening, Mr. Jessie. We have our first question from Mr. Ali. He asked if we can ultrasound, telescope, and lab bipolar of Arterix lab instruments.
Let's see. All right, so I see one of the questions on here that says, can we ultrasound telescopes and lap bipolars, Arthrex lap instruments? You sure can, as long as it's not made of a material that the ultrasonic cleaner is not compatible with. We do ultrasound a lot of our units for the telescopes. I'm assuming the telescopes would be the endoscopic instruments. If it has glass rods in it, a lot of telescopes cannot be ultrasonic because glass, again, the ultrasonic frequencies will crack the glasses. And again, you want to verify that with the IFU. Hopefully that answered that question there. Sometimes we stop. Okay. That is actually this one comment here. Sometimes we sterilize lab instruments. That is actually one of the pitfalls of processing laparoscopic instrumentation through ultrasonic cleaning. Again, ultrasonic cleaning has that frequency wave of cavitation that can actually loosen and damage some of the laparoscopic sheaths. So you'll see your you'll see your repair costs actually increase when you use ultrasonic cleaning for laparoscopic insulated instrumentation.
So there's another question, Mr. Jesse. How do we now sterilize fiberglass or optics used in endoscopy procedure?
So yes, so there again, depending on the manufacturers, a lot of fiberglass and optics are able to be sterilized with low temperature sterilization, such as hydrogen peroxide, ethylene oxide, and ozone is available for sterilizing. And depending on the construction of those devices, if they're like rigid endoscopes or semi-rigid, they can undergo steam sterilization. But some of those that are flexible endoscopes and those optics, like some of our cords, low temperature sterilization options are available out there.
All right, thank you so much. I don't know if anybody have any question again. Okay, over to you, moderator, Mr. Danjuma.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, I
Thank
think
you.
someone just dropped a question now.
Okay.
So the question is, so in this case, instruments will not be used again
That is
sometimes
correct.
to come. Right?
Yep, that is
Okay,
correct.
all right.
So when we're processing those devices, again, you got to have more than one. So if you only have one of those instruments, it's going to take you from reprocessing time. Basically, this is what we tell our OR customers and anyone that requires a turnover. The time it takes to process a device from beginning to end, from cleaning, packaging, sterilization, the moment we get it in the sterile processing department, it's a 4-hour wait. Okay. Not only do we have to clean it, package it, and sterilize it. If we sterilize it using steam sterilization, that item has to cool to room temperature, which can take anywhere from 30 minutes to 2.5 hours. For a device such as the one you're seeing, that's a 2-hour cool down time after steam sterilization. So you have a 4-hour window, so that item will not be available. If you utilize ethylene oxide sterilization, that sterilization process takes 14 hours, 3 hours of sterilization and 12 hours to aerate it to remove the residual ethylene oxide off the surface of that device. So you have to choose your battles on how you're going to sterilize that item. And you have to only sterilize it according to the IFUs validated by that device, because just like disinfectants, there's not a one size fit all for sterility. The device has to be able to be compatible with that sterilization method.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Jose Lopez. I hope I pronounced the name very well. Thank you very much for the insightful presentation. We are very grateful. On this note, I would like to invite Mr. Emmanuel Adewoyin to give us a closing remark. Thank you very much. Mr. Emmanuel.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Jesse, let me just try and read this one for you before you go. There's a question: can we sterilize gauze and abdo sponge after their packing damage once it is sterile? After the
No,
packing damage,
no.
it is.
So currently, gauzes and sponges are all considered single-use items, regardless of our ability to clean them. If we think we can clean them, we can't clean them back to the original state of the manufacturer. So gauzes and sponges cannot be re-sterilized or recleaned. They're single-use items and should not be reprocessed.
All right, thank you for that. But I just want to say this to that low-income countries, we strive to survive. Some people, like, I know why the question is coming. Some people reprocess it and use it because of cost implication. The policy of use and discard does not work in some low, unprivileged countries. But the standard, I can get you are coming from the standard that it should not be reprocessed. The last question, let me just read the last question there. As an expert in the field of sterilization, what type of sterilization method or process will you recommend to us in ophthalmic setting? What temperature and hour?
Okay, so
And that'll
yes,
be the
so
last question.
yes, that's a really good question. So for ophthalmic instrumentation, because of the risk of TASS, which is a toxic anterior segmented syndrome, not only do we have to clean them in specialized detergent, and because of their delicacy, We have to have a dedicated ultrasonic cleaner just to process those instruments and no other instruments alone. So ophthalmics have to be segregated from all other instrumentation utilized, cleaned separately. And then sterilization, again, it all depends on the manufacturer of the device. Typically, it's steam sterilization because it's the cheapest and the most effective in sterilization. And typically they get sterilized. And here in the US, our standard sterilization cycles are 270 degrees Fahrenheit for a 4-minute exposure time and a dry time specific to the packaging method that we utilize, whether it's rigid containers, wrapped or peel packs. In European countries, the standard sterilization parameters are 273 degrees Fahrenheit with a 3 minutes of exposure of steam sterilization, which is effective at sterilizing ophthalmic instrumentation.
All right, thank you so much for that impactful presentation and dissection. I want to say we call upon you, you answer us. We really appreciate you so much because you've really impacted knowledge on us today. We thank you for your time. You know, despite receiving this notification for, I think the notification is still short, but at least you've done justice to this presentation today. Mr. Jesse, it's nice hearing from you again and nice hearing from the lecture. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. On behalf of TORG, Sterilization and Infection Prevention Control, TORG national body and global body, we say thank you so much. And we believe the next time we'll call you, you're going to answer us.
Thank you, thank you.
So I want to really appreciate all participants and the team as a whole, all members of TORG, Sterilization and Infection Prevention Control member has been on background working, all our participants from different countries. So this was supposed to be for Nigerian chapter, but everybody joined from different parts of the country to actually gain the knowledge from different parts of the world. So we have more than how many countries represented. So it was so impressive. People joined from different parts of the world. So we say thank you for all our participants. We really appreciate you. And I want to let us know that the process of certification, I dropped the process on the excuse me. I dropped the process of you getting the certificate on the chat box. Just follow the process. It takes 5 to 7 days. There's going to be an automated questions which require our response immediately after this presentation. Kindly fill and submit. That's the only thing that will guarantee that you attend this presentation and the certification. So please, if you are all participants are encouraged to do that. Then our the evaluation, it comes with the evaluation form. So you are going to fill details. If you are a member of TORG, you are going to put your membership registration number so that we confirm that you are a member. And if you are not, please kindly go to our website to become a member of TORG anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world, we are all represented. All the countries in the world are well represented. So just join. And also, excuse me. So I will forward the steps in this the evaluation and certification as well. So, but by next week we still have some subsequent webinar program coming up. TORG platform. If you are on our platform, you'll have been seeing kind of updates. We've been sending updates on our community WhatsApp, LinkedIn, and Facebook for all the webinar coming up. So please kindly register to participate. So thank you so much. I say on behalf of the committee once again, we really appreciate it. Thank you and God bless.